I'm back, baby, I'm back. Easy now, people. Happy Saturday. It's your boy, Si, a.k.a. the Scarlet Pimpernel, a.k.a. the Missing Man, a.k.a. the Mancunian. Welcome to Gunner Talk. I know you've missed it. It's only been a week, guys. Amazingly, I've just been out living life away from social media for a week. I had a nice little some complimentary tickets to Glasgow, which I really enjoyed. Not really my scene, bit too busy for an old fart like me. And then I had a nice little journey over to France to watch the women, the Lionesses. Unfortunately, they couldn't get the job done, but it was a good experience. Really enjoyed the atmosphere, and everything around the Women's World Cup's been great. And then I went and did a little bit of a drive, checking out the route for the Tour de France, which I'm a big fan of. I'm sure most of you would rather watch paint dry, but that's something I've always wanted to do, and luckily a friend over there who's working on it managed to sort that out for me, so it's been an amazing week. Only downside is my levels on this might be a bit up the wall, guys. I might either be shouting or talking really quietly. As some of you know, I'm completely deaf in my left ear, and it now turns out that I've only got sort of my hearing's deteriorated in my right ear now. I'm not completely deaf, guys. I've just got about 10 to 20% hearing left now, just in my right ear, which sadly for you lot doesn't stop me talking shit, it just stops me listening to it, which works a treat for me. But welcome to Gunner Talk. Let's crack on with more football based stuff. It's been fun that sort of for a week I've just stepped off the roundabout of social media and the bullshit, and the circus surrounding us. And then I come back and have a look, and it seems that for a lot of you seem to have gone downhill. And I shouldn't laugh, but guys, you've got to really start thinking about what you're giving your time to, what sort of stuff you're willing to believe. And it seems so many of you now aren't using any of your own brain power anymore. You're just sort of going along with everything that's happening rather than taking a step back and looking at things logically and whether they make any sense before retweeting or losing your shit over something. So I'm hopefully going to bring a bit of level-headedness back today, which I know you've all missed massively. So let's get down to the first things that I've sort of missed in my week away. The kit launch, we got that. I got an email about it, this leaked video, from Adidas, whether it was on Axie purpose. However you want to look at it, it came out, we all saw it, and some of you absolutely lost the plot over it and got really way too excited. For me, I thought it was good. It's an advert, it doesn't, in the big scheme of things, does it really mean much to me? No. I'd much rather, there's a lot of things going on at the club I'd rather have had news about than the kit launch, to be honest, or a promotional video. But I'm not going to have a go at some of you that if that's what's helped you get back excited about the club, I have no issue with it. I just wish we had something a bit more substantial for you to get excited about. And talks that it's record-breaking shirt sales for Adidas, which can't be a bad thing. Whatever side of the fence you're going to sit on, regarding money stuff. Well, it won't do us any harm that we're helping Adidas be successful and in this partnership with ourselves. There was no announcements, was there? I think some of you sort of hoped that when they drew the curtain at the and the shutters went up at the Armoury, there was sort of Mbappe, Neymar and King Koulibaly stood in Arsenal shirts, but that didn't happen, and I'm not shocked. I didn't expect to see any new players straight away in the kit. I just think that now having the kit deal, fully rolled out, that we can now look to actually, announce players, where there's no sort of like radio silence in between the deal happening and then us being able to announce it. Now it should just be, deal done, medical, bang, player in the shirt. And I'm sure some of you got a bit upset that there weren't any there, but like I say, now it's. If you want to look at it the other way, it's one less excuse now for players not coming in. You can't say, well, it's because we're waiting for the kit deal. We've got the kits now, so that's one more hurdle out of the way. And like I say, it didn't really mean much to me. I'm not even going to really analyse the video and the few ones that I've seen. like I say, it doesn't really mean much to me. I did look at it when I first saw it about what players were in it and what weren't, and I didn't read into it. I just thought it was interesting who was in it and who wasn't, and then looking at sort of what maybe commitments they had on at the moment or why they wouldn't have been part of it. And then I thought, it's probably nothing to read into. And then since I've seen pictures of certain players in kits that I didn't want to. I was hoping, in an ideal world, that we'd have took a hard line and gone, right, Koscielny, Nacho, Kolasinac, Mustafi, Mickey, Ozil, Xhaka, El Nene, all of them, we just went, we don't want any pictures of you in this kit because you'll never fucking get to play in it. That's something I dreamt about and then woke up with my head in my cornflakes. And I would have loved to have took the club to have took a hard stance like that. I know it can't work like that, but that's what I'd have loved. Didn't happen, so I'll get over it with a good night's sleep. The other thing that I noticed was somebody had mentioned to me about the protests. Didn't look like it was a great success, to be honest. But I've seen people sort of beating them over the head with it. It's embarrassing, the state of you. And, guy, why don't turn on our fellow fans because they're upset and they're not happy. I don't agree with it. Just because I think the way they're going about it, it's like dropping a grain of rice into the Atlantic. It's not even going to make a ripple. I'd be amazed if it even makes a splash. It was just more of a little plop in. And that's my only issue with it, as I think these guys are wasting the time. I don't think they've really thought about how to go about this. And I tried to suggest some stuff to one of them. He's like, well, you're just a fucking wanker, get behind it. And it's like, I'm not against it, guys. I'm against you wasting your time. And from my working in that line of business in the in the sports industry and with this sort of stuff, I do believe that they could make and do a bit of damage and put him under pressure, but not buying shirts or kicking off outside the armoury in the ground, not going to do it. I'd be amazed if he even knew about it, to be honest. Like I suggested, the only way. The first thing is it's hard to convince enough people. Like I said the other week about the amount of people that will give it all the rabbit on the internet, and then when it comes down to it, they're not going to turn up in person. They're not going to not buy a shirt. They're not going to not go and watch the team. That's your problem. That's where, for me, you've got to do something with match-going fans, people that will definitely be there. And like I've said, my suggestion is that if people really want him out and in proper numbers, and it's match-going fans, the only way you're going to do it is by stopping TV networks broadcasting the games. Whether it's you all just hold up a sign and there's 20,000 of you with a sign that says "cunt," they won't be able to broadcast that. So that, to me, is the only way, is to stop them broadcasting Arsenal games, and then he would have to have a serious look at it, because financially we couldn't cope without TV rights. That, for me, is my opinion on it. Somebody said to me, well, how would you do that? Like I've just said, signs with the word "cunt" on, or something really offensive, where they couldn't broadcast it. I don't know exactly what that is. That's for somebody who's an idea person, who's way more got more creativity than somebody like me. That's not my expertise. That's not my wheelhouse. I've never planned a protest in my life. I've never rallied any troops or anything like that, so I don't know. But that, for me, is the only avenue you go down that can make any difference. And I saw the video of the Boominator, or whatever his name is, off Garage Wars or whatever it's called, Storage Wars, and people were taking the piss out of him and saying, well, he's here protesting, but he's bought a shirt. Not buying a shirt's not going to make a difference, guys. We've already done a deal with Adidas. That hurts Adidas, not us. And if they then went, well, we've not sold many shirts, we're going to knock this deal on the head, we'll just go and get another sponsor. It's not. So using that as a way to take the piss out of him, I thought was poor. And if he wants to be a man in his 40s or 50s walking around with a tiny kid's wrestling belt, let him. I just don't care enough, to be honest, guys. It's not something I care about. I want to get involved in. Protest. It's a real tricky area. Because how many times does this sort of stuff ever end up successful and serving its purpose? Not very often. And I'm not sure a lot of people are doing it for the right reasons either. A lot of people, when it seems to be, you know, it's very similar to me about the influx of foreigners in Britain, and, you know, people, you know, the real narrow-minded idiots, racist sort of type people that just go, well, they're coming over here taking all our jobs. You know, and like I said to somebody, if a guy called, you know, Ali or Mohammed is coming from a foreign country, you know, with no money, nowhere to live, doesn't speak the language, no friends, no nothing, and he's taking your job, you need to go and have a long hard look at yourself. How shit does that make you? It's got nothing to do with him, you're shit. And that's the sort of same way I look at this, is that what reason is it that you actually want him out for? Because to say, well, we're not spending any money, doesn't wash. That's not an excuse, because we have spent money. He hasn't spent any of his own money, but that's then your issue. But does he need to spend any of his own money? If you look at the numbers of outlay, inlet, you know, however you want to break down those numbers and actually look at them. I saw Swiss Ramble had done another good thread again, going through all the financials. It's not that there's not been investment, it's just been pissed straight up a wall. You know, and that, like I said, is my big issue with Wenger and Gazidis, that they were taking the piss. And they were getting paid very large sums of money for it, and they'd gone off on a tangent where there's no coming back from it. There was no future planning. They were just living in the here and now, and they were trying to, my old adage, you know, of plasters on broken limbs, that's all they were doing was patching for the short term, and that's why we're in the mess now for the next few years. And it's got, you know, it's a big job for Unai and the lads behind the scenes to sort it out, because the squad is a mess. Whether you think the players are good enough or not, most of them are on too big a wages, we pay too much for them, then when we come to selling them we won't get any money. That's the problem, that's the real problem at the club. You know, don't take this as me supporting Stan Kroenke, because I really don't like the guy with a passion, but it's more about him as a person than him as an owner. You know, and let's remember, you know, 10 years ago, whenever it was when he took over, we knew this was going to be the crack with this guy. You know, people still sold out to him because they valued that over the old Arsenal. You know, and he's doing the exact same. And it doesn't shock me. He told us we were going to be run by it like a self-sustained model. You know, and any revenue the club makes goes back in, and he wouldn't be putting his hand in his own pocket. And that's what we've got. So I don't really know now why the complaints are happening, when this same thing we're complaining about has been the case for a decade. You know, and before he got 100%, I think it'd have been a lot easier to get him out than it is now. You know, where we don't get to find out any of the financials really. You know, due to him having 100%, we don't have to divulge that information anymore. It's a real tricky one. I just think if you want him out, do it for the right reason, and I don't think most people are. I think it's just this, you know, this silly thing of just spend some fucking money. It doesn't work like that. And go back and look, you know, as I've tried to tell you guys, we've spent plenty of dough. We've just pissed it up the wall. You know, and I always refer back to the window of Perez, Xhaka, and Mustafi. That was 100 mil gone. You know, wow. Awful, absolutely awful business, and that's the problem we're in. You know, we've got a squad, we're paying you know, average players, we're paying world class wages, and we can't get rid of them for decent fees because they're not worth it, because they're average players. We're just stuck, guys, catch 22, and that's what we need. I think we need to focus on the situation at hand rather than maybe trying to get rid of Stan. Like I said, either the commercial way, like I say, through TV broadcasting, getting rid of him, that's your only option for me if you're actually going to try and get him out through protest. And if that doesn't work, the only other way I see you getting rid of him is Mr. Dango, as I said before, last season that just passed, is that, you know, after his speech of he will try and buy the club in 2020 when that refinery is built, you know, when he said, I'll make an offer you can't refuse. But you know, he's an Arsenal fan, he's got mega dough, but what guarantees is that he'd be any better than Stan? Why would he not look at it and go, well, it's making this guy plenty of money, why would I not run it the same way? These are businessmen, you know, very successful businessmen, you know, so they don't think like the likes of most of us, you know, average working class people. You know, I've had a bit of an insight into that world. You know, I'm sure a lot of you haven't. You know, it's very different to the way a lot of your minds work, is the way these guys operate. And you know, people talking about, you know, I've seen people say, what the fuck did we move to Highbury? You know, why did we leave Highbury? I loved Highbury. That's all my favourite memories are at Highbury. Then I don't really have any at the Emirates. In my time supporting Arsenal since I was 5. But we couldn't have been where we're at now, still playing at Highbury. You know, some of you that are saying, spend some fucking money. Well, we'd have half of what we're spending now if we were still at Highbury. You know, we were a £220 million club when we were there. We're now worth over £1 billion. So we are in a much better position than we were when we were at Highbury. Let's not get that confused. Whether you feel the atmosphere is not as good and all the rest of it, or your match day experience, or you don't feel that same nostalgia, that's totally different. That's got nothing to do with the fact that the club is much more successful at the Emirates than it you know, commercial wise, off the pitch as an enterprise, than it ever was at Highbury. It's just a shame in football in terms we've dipped since we were there, but that's a totally separate issue. So I just think it's a lot of confusion. And, you know, I've seen people sort of talking about Spurs. Well, we were lied to, you know. Spurs are spending money, you know, they've gone and bought my boy and Dombele, which broke my heart that that's happened, but I'm not going to talk about that too much because I don't care. He's dead to me now. But, you know, people say, well, Spurs are going spending this, and, well, you know, how come they can do it and we can't? Well, for a start, guys, we're talking about things that are 2 generations apart. The world has moved on a lot since we moved to the Emirates. Let me tell you that now, you know. The world has moved on a lot. It's kept spinning since then. You know, TV revenue, commercial revenues, they've gone through the roof since. So there's no point in making a direct comparison because you can't. You know, they haven't spent in 2 windows, which gives them, you know, some sort of little war chest, I'm sure, that they can lump in. They haven't started making repayments on their new ground yet. When they kick in, you know, things are going to change. So I think this is their last little foray into the market before they have to go through what we went through. Because although there's a big difference in time, the way that deal will be structured will be very similar with repayments and stuff. You know, I've seen people using the NFL as a way to say that's where they'll be making a big money spinner. It's not actually that big a money spinner, guys. I've worked in it. You know, a lot of you who know me know I've been working on those London NFL games at Wembley and Twickenham and the rest of it. That's not a big money spinner for Spurs at all. It's a few million a year. So that's not a reason to give them that they'd have more money to spend. I think you just need to relax and just wait and see what happens. Because like I say, for me, I think they'll be having a bit of a splurge now. And then over the next few years, I think they will have to look at rebuilding again and maybe letting go of, you know, if they can get mega money for Kane, Ali, Son, maybe seeing some of those players move on and they use that to sort of restructure their finances. That's just my guesswork, guys, but that's where I see it going. So it's not something I'm looking at and going, Spurs are doing that. I just don't care what they're doing. Their goal and what the trajectory they're on at the minute is totally different to what we're trying to achieve. So don't try and compare the two. Just concentrate on what we're doing. Fuck Spurs. They're always going to be in our shadow no matter what they do. You know, they can build that ground twice as big. They can buy twice as expensive players as us. They need 40 years to catch up with being relevant. So just don't bother. It's something I've just had to chuckle about, really. Sorry, guys. Next one, budget. People talking about the budget. Another, you know, he's up there with Nico Shearer for me as another utter. They all are, to be honest, for me at the minute. I can't find one really credible journalist. You know, you guys know I've told you about Ornstein for ages now that he's got no in at the club. Nobody has. I'm telling you that as a fact. There's nobody with an in at the club at the moment. You know, they can all ask the press office or whatever for bits of information and then try and spin it however they want. They're getting nothing. And we were told that, so I don't know why you don't go along with the club rather than listening to these complete dicks fill you full of shit. And like I say, just use some common sense. So I saw this stuff and he'd come out, you know, and he's come out and said there's a lot more than this 40 million. My source has told me that, you know, they're playing the clever game of underselling how much money they've got, and take it with a pinch of salt, guys. There's more money than that. And then I saw people coming out and saying, I told you all we had more than 40 million. I told you all. Well, what are you doing all that bragging about based on now? You're taking... I said ages ago there was more than 40 million because the club aren't that naive to believe that we can fix and stop our decline with 40 million quid. That's just logic. But then you guys are coming out and saying, I told you idiots, I told you that was all media bullshit, that we only had a 40 million budget, and you're basing that on the fact that another bullshit merchant out the media is telling you we've got more. So you're just the fucking same. You're beating somebody over the head with the old, you just beat yourself over the head with that same stick. You're still buying the shite from these guys, and you need to stop it, because they are making very good livings off you clicking on their profiles and laughing at you. And believe me, from working in it, these guys are laughing at you. They've seen a little, like I said, opportunists. They've seen an opportunity at a club where our fans are irrational and we don't use, in the main, any common sense. You just go with something, and these guys are exploiting you massively for it. And if you just realise that if you just stop liking and clicking, and retweeting the rumours that they're coming out with, they'd all disappear, and then all we'd actually get is concrete information when it turns up and it surfaces. And it just blew my mind that people believe, So everybody in the media knows we've got a small budget because we're keeping that quiet, and playing our cards close to our chest. And as I referenced to it the other week, if you were playing poker as an average person and you sat on 2 aces, you don't go and tell everybody you've got 2 aces. You keep them very quiet until you go boom, and everyone puts the chips in, and you go all in, and you flip them over, and you go, eat that, suck it. That's what happens. Not this where, we're interested in that £20 million player. Well, how much have you got to spend? Well, about 300 million. Oh, well, he's not actually 20 million. That's a misprint on the sign in the window. He's actually 60 million, sorry. So this guy coming out and saying this, I mean, like I say, if we're playing a shrewd game, why is somebody in the know at the club going to come out and tell him it's more? Why would they do that if they're playing a shrewd game? They're not, guys. They're not. This guy has got no information. He is just going, lap this up, guys. And you're all gobbling it down, like I said the other week. Like fat little rumour pigs. You're just loving it, and you're just snuffling in the truffles of bullshit, and you're buying it all, and you need to stop. And then I saw more crap about this stuff. And I saw about the Zaha rumour. The powers that be at the club have gone to stand to ask for more money, and I saw loads of you go, hurrah! And I thought, do you actually believe that? Do you? Honestly, if you're over the age of 10 and you read that and thought, yes, we're going asking him for more money, remove yourself from all social media and go and get some counselling, because you need serious help. I just couldn't stop laughing when I saw this. We will have had a budget, guys. Businesses do projections. Every business does that. We will have projected what our transfer kitty was with Champions League, without it. That number will have been decided way before the final. All these things were done. We've been told that this is a year-long process. So why would these guys, who are serious businessmen, who take them, Raul's not a numpty, he takes himself seriously. The guy's got serious business acumen. He was at Barcelona for 10 years. He is not an idiot. Do you honestly think 6 weeks into a window, he's going with the rest of the lads, cap in hand, to Stan Kroenke, like Oliver Twist going, please sir, can I have some more? No, not in a million years. They will have a budget and they will be working with it. There's no way on earth that they're going asking for more. I do not believe that one for me, and I think anybody who does buy that is absolutely batshit mental. As mad as a box of frogs. I honestly do. Would you do that in your own job? Somebody says to me, in a job, right, Si, need you to go, these are some supplies you need to go and pick up. Here's 40 quid. Right, alright, not a problem. Would you drive halfway there and drive back and go, nah, I probably need 60 to be honest? No, you'd have asked for that in the first place. You'd have gone straight away. 40's probably not enough, mate. Can you give us 60? And then, if that's not enough, I'll give it you back. Just think about stuff logically. Honestly, the amount of you that bit to this, I just could not stop laughing. I've sort of chuckled at you. So I just think, wow. Let's get away from that stuff anyway. I'm just going to sort of go through the team in position order of rumours of what's getting talked about at the moment. Ospina, Big Dave, he's finally gone, and it's official. Off to Napoli. It's looking at, I'm not sure whether it's €5 million, €5 million sterling. It's not a great deal, but it's back in the pot for a player that we've not been using for a while. So I can't get upset about that. It's half of what I've wanted, but it's more than what I thought we'd get, so I'm not complaining. And then we've had these new Emi Martinez comments that I think maybe this guy, Kava Saleko from Sky Sports has come out with again, or another one of these idiots talking about Emi's comments, saying he's up for the fight, he's staying. This isn't anything new, guy. This is from 6 months ago. He said all this stuff before he went to Reading. If you paid any attention, he said he was given guarantees by the club that when he came back, he would be number 2 and there to challenge Bernd Leno. And that's why I've told you guys, goalkeeper position is a position we need to spend zero funds on. It's settled. I told you before last season we should have given him a chance. He's better than Ospina and Cech, and he's on a fraction of the money. He's on 10 or 20 grand a week. It's peanuts. And I'm really excited. Goalkeeper is a position for me that I'm excited about next year. I mean, look how good Leno was once he got settled this year. For me, easily top 3 best players, performers this year, week in, week out, most consistent. And that was him adapting to England, so you'd assume based on that he's going to get better next year. And then with somebody genuinely who, Cech might have pressured him playing well, but he was never going to replace him. Somebody like Martinez could replace him. In my personal belief, I rate Emi Martinez that highly. Similar sort of age, not in his prime yet. He could have the best 5 to 10 years left in his career at a goalkeeper. So this is a position, like I say, I hoped that he went and smashed it at Reading, or if the club if they weren't ever going to play him, let him go. So I'm delighted that he's coming back, and I think this is a position we should be quite excited about for next year. It's not the most glamorous, but that's gone, going from Ospina and Cech to Leno and Emi Martinez is, it's like going from Lisa Riley to I don't know, Cameron Diaz. It's a serious upgrade. So I'm more than happy with that. More talk of people are losing the plot over auba and laca. You're doing the same as what you did over Torreira, basing it on absolutely nothing apart from these cranks filling you full of shit. And I told you guys, just look at what Torreira actually said. Do the same with this, rather than follow these idiots. Go and look at it. Look at these guys, the way they deal with each other, the bravado they've got between each other. I'm telling you right now, factually, guarantee you, and I'm willing to do any forfeit. I'll get I Love Spurs tattooed across my forehead. These guys will both be here at the start of next season. No two ways about it. They love each other. They love each other as much as I love them, and that's creepy. Laca is my caramel lover boy. I fanboy over that man massively just because of the way he goes about business, and he's just a hot piece of ass. And just these guys, like I say, the relationship they have between each other. Why would they want to ruin that? They're both at a point in their career where I think it's not so much about making money anymore. The high enough profile players where they'll get paid mega dough no matter where they play. They're going to be getting. I can see them both getting rather than either leaving this window. I can see auba getting a 2-year extension and Laca getting a 4-year. That's my personal opinion. That's what I think will happen this window. And then in 2 years' time, then we'd readdress the auba situation. He'd be 31. We'd maybe look at selling him then if there was any value left in him. I'm sure it wouldn't be what we paid for him, but it'd help us restock again if he was to leave. And then Laca, sort of 2 years down the line, we'd look at giving him another 4, or then looking at maybe moving him on when he gets to 29, 30. So that's the way I see it going, rather than either of these guys. I think they're both raring to go for this year, and I think they're both enjoying the time at the club. London is a great place, that I go to a lot through work. It's a fabulous city. It's got everything you want apart from the weather. I just don't see either of these guys. And I love that little video the other morning of, was it auba's little lad doing the Laca chant. These guys, I think, are going to be friends for life off the back of this. If they were getting married, I see him making the other one best man or whatever. So I don't buy any rumours about these two leaving. Unless somebody came in and went, we'll give you 150 million for one of them, I think it'd probably be taken out of their hands and the club would go, we don't want you anymore, you need to leave. But I don't see that happening. So that's a complete non-starter for me, the same as the Torreira bullshit. We signed a player, guys! Hey! Martinelli, Martinelli, hey! That's not my chant for him. I've not heard a chant for him yet. I'm sure Jack and the lads might get, I'll get pen to paper, boys, and have a think about it. See if I can come up with one of my genius chants for him. But we've signed a player, people, and I'm delighted. I think we all knew for months that, you know, it has literally been months that we knew he was signing. We just had to wait for him to turn 18 due to, you know, the level of appearances he had outside of Europe, you know, and at what level. For him then to go and get his Italian passport so he could sign for us, which happened, and, you know, he duly signed, you know, days after. My first instinct when we signed him was, what a fucking ungrateful bunch we are. Looking at some of the comments and sort of the hype around him signing's really disappointing for me. You've all seemed to have, not looking at what we've realistically got, you're all still chasing a unicorn in Wilfried Zaha, and rather than watching compilations of Zaha thinking, oh well, maybe we might get him, god, this would be exciting, why don't you look at what we've just got? You know, you're chasing a unicorn in a field when we've got a thoroughbred racehorse that we've already put in the stable. So I'd much rather spend my time putting sugar cubes in that and giving it a stroke and a pat than chasing a fucking unicorn on ends, and we all know they don't actually exist. And I found it really disappointing. You know, when I first heard the rumours about him, I had no idea who he was. I'd heard his name, but I hadn't ever seen him kick a ball. And I've got a mate who works in Brazilian football, and South American football. I quizzed him and he gave me some background on him and was like, watch this video, watch this game he played in. And I spent my time doing that, and I got really excited, and I thought this kid could be anything. And he's the sort of player I think I said it to you guys ages ago. Up top, I think we're going to look for sort of wingers/strikers, versatile, in case we go from 4-4-2 to a fluid 3 up top, and those 3 could sort of interchange. So it'd be possibly Laca and Auba and somebody else, and they all just sort of move round. Whether that happens or not, I might be just reaching and guessing, but that's the way I see it going. Is back to a flat back 4, and you know, this 4-2-3-1 or 4-4-2 is the way I see it going next year. So these are the sort of players I wanted to see us sign if we were looking at wingers, with someone versatile. That's, you know, been my main gripe with players that we've brought in, are very one-trick ponies that can only do one specific thing, which is how Wenger liked it. None of the players he was bringing in were versatile. They could all just do one thing, and, you know, maybe you saw whether they did it particularly well or not, they could only do that one thing. Whereas now we need people, you know, like I referenced, Chambers, Bielik, Ainsley, you know, players that can play in different positions. So when he does tinker in game, he can do it on the pitch, and without wasting substitutes or changing lineups massively or anything. That's how I see it. And Martinelli fits the bill. You know, tall, strong, pacey, tricks, not afraid to put a man on his arse and go past him. Looks clever, right up my street, and I'm really excited to see this kid play. I was under the assumption that we'd just loan him straight out, or give him a year in the under-23s. It now seems that we've given him some sort of guarantee of first-team performances. I mean, that might just be, you know, Carabao and Europa. I can't imagine they've guaranteed him that he's going straight in the first team week in, week out. You know, you'll be taking Mickey's spot, you'll be taking Iwobi's spot, or, you know, Laca or Auba up top. I don't see that, but I think they've made him, you know, you're going to get 10 to 20 games this year at some, you know, in some capacity for the first team. So I'm really excited to see that and see how he progresses. And I'm concentrating much more on him than who might come in. I'm concentrating on what's here now. So yeah, I think a lot of you need to, if you know, you're spending your time pissing around watching compilations of other players, look at one that we've just signed, go and watch compilations of him. So I'm really excited about this. And I looked at it, you know, this 7 million, whether it's again pounds sterling or euros, it just smacked me straight in the mouth of Guendouzi's deal last year, and how good that's worked out for us. Whether you rate him or not as a player, his retained value now from what we played, the profit we've built in him through giving him a chance, his age still, his wages, you know, the whole package. And I looked at these 2 deals and I thought, these are the best 2 deals we have done in the last 10 years and will do for a while. Because the fees are that small, I don't see how we do not come out winning on these 2 and winning big. You know, even if they got to a point where they wanted to move on, you know, we've seen it with Guendouzi, people already saying 40, 50 million plus for him. And I can only maybe see Gabriel Martinelli going the same way. Because he's got all the tools in his box, you know, and all the weapons in his arsenal. So I'm really happy with these sort of deals, and I'd rather see another 8 of these type of deals that happen than go and bring in Will Zaha. That's because I think we've got more than one problem to fix in this squad, so that's the way I'd be looking at it. So welcome, Gabriel. Welcome to the Arsenal. We're all welcome here, mate. And I can't wait to see him get on with it and just really see what this lad can do. I think he could go all the way, I really do. Turney, the next one, left back. You know, I've seen people saying it was done. Some people saying it's not even close. I think we're somewhere in between. The thing is, it's a bit like I said to you guys, wait for something factual, which we've had, which is we have bid for him. You know, Celtic have come out and admitted that. So now it gives it some substance, and you can start thinking, well, we are actually after this guy. It's not just hearsay. It's not just bullshit in the media. We're genuinely interested in trying to make a deal happen. Celtic have now signed a left back. Depends how you look at that. Izagiri left, so whether he's just replacing him or not, who knows? But I'm not. I'll have a go at saying his name. You know, it's like the jazz round or the club style on Shooting Stars. I can't say his name. Whatever his name is, the kid they've signed. I read the interview with him where he was talking, and he hasn't gone there to sit behind somebody and be a backup. He's gone there to be a first choice. So I would probably lean towards he's there to replace Turney, not Izagiri, but that's my own personal opinion. You know, and it was another one, people kicking off. Napoli have jumped ahead of the queue. I don't believe Napoli are interested in for 1 minute. I think that's just a tactic to get us to up our bid quicker, because, you know, it works both ways. We might not be in a rush to make it happen and we're buying our time, but then it leaves Celtic no time to get in what they want with the funds. So I can understand why they try and force us to speed up. Apparently we bid 15 mil, it got, you know, instantly rejected, which you can understand, but I've seen people losing the plot over this stuff, and I'm going to come on to it later on when I talk about Zaha, but I'm all for this. I'm more for going low than going high. That's just my, you know, I've been a very successful salesman, and that is the way I would always go. You know, you don't ever do that in any aspect of business, you know, like I raised on before. All that means is you just chub clubs, if they know you've got a fortune, will ask you for more money. So I wish everybody would just stick with this. We've only got a 40 million budget, although we all know it's bullshit. Until we start spending over that, nobody actually knows, do they? But I'm pretty sure we will. But yeah, it's, you know, him coming in, that would be huge for me. Massive upgrade on what we've got, and somebody who can actually is just as good at defending as he is attacking, which we don't have. You know, Nacho's not great at either, and Kolasinac's really good at going forward and terrible at defending. So he's a much more level player, and he'd be the perfect sort to help us go back to a back four, which I'm sure Unai wants to. So yeah, I'm all behind this, and hoping that we can make this happen over there. I think we will make this deal happen over the next week or so. For between 20 and 25 is my personal opinion. So, you know, Celtic are a massive club, and I'd say they're a bigger club than us, but they're in Scotland and it's not a big draw. And the only reason I think it's not already happened, and he's maybe not forcing it, is because he's a big Celtic lad. He is one of their own, you know, not one of the fake their own like Harry Kane's. He's actually one of their own. So I think that might be why he wouldn't jump at the chance to leave, but I think if they accept a bid, he'll jump at the chance to come and play for us. No two ways about it. Leading on to the left back stuff, another one of the most, I mean, this is probably the most hilarious rumour I've seen of this window, was the stuff about Nacho Monreal this week. When I saw it, and I've seen your reactions to it this morning, again guys, what planet are some of you on? He's cancelled his contract, you know, he's leaving. And I looked at that and I thought, hey, where does that come from? You know, I don't know how much interest you guys take in it all, but a few months before the season was over, I looked at players that was out of contract at the end of this year, and he was one of them. And then, you know, a few weeks ago, I saw the list that Arsenal put out of released players, and he wasn't on it. So I knew at that point we'd already given him a 1-year extension, and that's why I told you guys, that's why I sort of had to change my mindset of, although Kolasinac is the one I'd keep, it's obvious the club have decided he's the one that we're happy to let go. We can get some decent money for him since we paid nothing for him. We might be able to get 10 to 20 million for him, and then we can use that money then to get in a replacement for Nacho in another season's time. And I just couldn't believe how many of you. And then all of a sudden, oh no, he's got a new contract. He's not cancelled it. He's got a new one. And I was like, guys, this is old news. This is these media arseholes again. They've got nothing to write about and they're just peddling shite. And I just laughed that you sort of all went 360 within a day. And just like I say again, no logic you're using. Instead of just having a sit and thinking to yourself, logically, does this make sense? You're just retweeting these guys and losing the plot and then beating the club over the head for it. And that's really depressing for me, is that you're having a go at the club based on the opinions of a complete fucking no-mark idiot that knows nothing. And if that's the case, start listening. Give me 40,000 followers and I'll just spout shit all day. It really upsets me from what I'm trying to achieve personally doing this sort of stuff, that I'm struggling to get any support. But if I just put Arsenal are signing this guy tomorrow every day and made up a rumour, I'd have 500,000 times more followers. It's just disappointing. It does make me a bit bitter. It's just frustrating. And a lot more of you want concrete stuff. But if you just had the ability to be an adult about it and stop retweeting these guys' stuff and stop liking it and stop buying the rumours, they'd disappear, and then all you would see on your timeline was genuine stuff, because that's all you'd have available to you. So I do find it frustrating, and like I say, the logic behind this was mind-blowing for me, and it wasn't new news to me. It was something that I'd worked out 2 months ago, so I'm shocked so many of you jumped at it and reacted straight away. And yeah, to say that he'd extended for a year and then 2 weeks later gone, oh no, I want to leave now. Just some of you guys blow my mind. Centre back Saliba, we're still not talking about this deal, aren't we? 30 million euros and then loaning him back. I know some of you aren't keen on it. Doesn't really bother me. I've seen their guy come out now and say that that's what definitely will happen, no matter, if we don't go for that, they'll just sell him to somebody who does go for that. He's open to that. The player wants to go back there next year as well for a season and carry on progressing. And like I say, I'm not against it for a few reasons. That if we're going to go and spend 30 million euros on an 18-year-old centre-back that we're loaning back out again, there's more money to go and get another centre-back. I can't believe that would be all the centre-back business we'd do this window. And second of all, the biggest problem is, I just don't think we know how to get rid of Koscielny and Mustafi. I think that's the massive problem at the minute. It's the same throughout the entire squad. I don't see, similar to why we've not seen many signings yet, I don't think it's the club's fault. I think it's the club's fault from previous seasons, Wenger and Gazidis, and the way they've gone about things is they've left us unprepared for the future, and now Unai and Raul and those guys are going to have to do all the shoveling of the shit, and I just think we're struggling to find suitors for these guys, because who would want them? Who realistically is knocking our door down for, your Xhakas, your Mkhitaryan's, your Mustafis? Nobody. And although there might be some suitors out there that would want them, they would want them for very little money and take a punt, and I don't think those numbers are something that we're willing to accept. I think it's less than what we value them at, so I think we're looking at we're stuck with these guys. So rather than stand still, let's at least look and make signings for the future for when they're not here and we can get rid of them. So like I say, at the end of next season, then all their contracts run out. So then we'd have sort of Saliba ready to step up, and if we do sort of other similar signings to that, so I'm not against it. I'd rather we're doing something forward thinking than stand still and keep stagnating. Although it doesn't help us immediately in the short term, I'm all for looking at this long-term projection rather than short-term. I've told you guys before, I'd rather write off next season, put all the youth in and just go at it and see where we end up, and hope that it's better than watching these same mugs let us down every week. So that's it. I think that's the problem we're in at the minute, is we can't get rid of our centre-back. So we're not going to go and loan out Mustafi or Koscielny to play Saliba week in, week out. That's not going to happen. Just makes no logical sense. As much as you might want to see, it's not going to happen. So that's the way I think we're at. Another interesting centre-back one is Hermoso. He's still just milling around it. That's come out now that he's not going to go to Atletico Madrid. boggling my mind that he's just milling around for this sort of 20 million mark, and nobody's jumped down his down the throat for him, and he'd be a perfect solution to me. I think that's what we need. If we go and do Saliba, who's like our young protege, who we're pinning the future hopes on, we need somebody sort of 23 to 26 to bring in now that's experienced, that could steady the ship and take over from Koscielny and Socrates in the short term to help guide our younger centre-backs. We're not short of those. We've got Holding, we've got Mavro, we've now got Bielik back, who I believe should be a centre-back, not a centre-mid. And I don't class Chambers now as a centre-back, I class him as a centre-mid. For me, him and Bielik have gone in the opposite direction now. So I see Bielik as a centre-back and Chambers as a centre-mid. So Hermoso he'd be a perfect fit for me at our place, and especially with the money he's being mentioned. Umtiti now, Barcelona want him sold. You guys know I told you months ago that I was privy to some information that we had a meeting with Barcelona based around Umtiti and Malcolm, and they're pushing around the ideas of taking them both on loans with options to buy. Which I think would be stunning business if we could make it happen. I know a lot of you aren't keen on Umtiti through his knees, but it's very similar to what people have said about Turner. It's an urban myth with Turner. Go and look at how many games he's actually missed over the last few years. It's less than most of our players. And it's through overplaying, it's not through being a pussy or being injury prone, it's through that they've got winning mentalities and these guys want to play every week and help. So I'm not against it, and I'd take a punt on him. We've got a medical team who are shit hot, that's what they're there for, so they can work out the risk reward settings, and do a background check and go through his fine tooth comb him if he's capable of playing. Even if it was only 20 to 30 games a year, it'd be enough for us. I'd rather watch him play for 20 or 30 than I would Mustafi or Koscielny or even Socrates, to be honest. And like I say, this might be our only way of getting a centre-back that good, that's already announced on world stage. Because if this wasn't the case and there'd never been any questions about Samuel Umtiti's injury record, he'd be 60 million plus and we wouldn't be getting him. So he'd be someone I'd definitely take a punt on. I'm just not sure that Barca would loan him out. I think they want, obviously with their outlay and what they're looking to do this year, I think they'd want money back, but we'll see. Staying on wing backs, Marcelo, he's talking about him. He's not someone I'm interested in the slightest. That's going back. That's a very Lichtsteiner sort of signing for me. It doesn't really make much sense of replacing Nacho or Kolasinac with someone that we'd then have to replace in another year's time. I'm giving this one no credit. I think it's just more, like I say, people in the media putting, our agents putting it out there because they know we'll. If you write any rumour that has our name in it, it'll get more attention than most rumours. So that's all I see this down to. I'll tell you what I did see the other night. I watched Brazil versus Argies. I've watched quite a lot of the football the last few weeks. Copa America, the Gold Cup, the African Nations, the Women's World Cup. Dani Alves, he wouldn't suit us as a signing right now, but if we didn't have Bellerin, I would say we should go and get him for 2 years because he is the best right back on the planet by a long way. Your Trent Arnolds, your Wan-Bissakas, your Kimmiches and those sort. They're good. They're nowhere near on the level of this guy. Not even close for me. Like I say, he doesn't suit our project at the minute. His wages, a bit similar to Marcelo really. Marcelo, we'd have to pay him mega money. And he wouldn't be our first choice, or we'd be then hindering Hector when he came back. So it wouldn't make any sense for us to. But he's a player I'd love to see in the Prem. I know he's 35, but he's not like Lichtsteiner in that I think this guy has still got 2 quality years in him. Lichtsteiner clearly didn't. And we're talking levels apart of quality of players as well. A prime Dani Alves is a lot better than a prime Stefan Lichtsteiner. But yeah, I just thought what a great player he is to watch. So calm, cool, collected, in defence and in attack. He's like having another winger, but he still does his defensive, but he's still getting up and down as much as he ever did. Like Cafu. Really impressed. I really just enjoy watching the guy play football. Bit of a twat, but I enjoy watching him play football. The big news on the right back front: Hector's haircut. Ho ho! Wow, I didn't see that one coming. I saw he put that thing that he's time and a little egg timer, and you know, people, oh, time, what's it time for? Getting dead excited, and I instantly thought he's getting a haircut, or it was something to do with fashion or his hair. I didn't actually relate it to football once, and he's gone for it, hasn't he? It's you know, I know it's not particularly football related, a haircut, but you know, I've seen people give him shit about the way he dresses and his hair and all the rest of it, and he needs to concentrate on his football. Guys, it's about personal happiness. I don't care if he's got 5,000 piercings in his face and a mohawk. If he gives me 8 out of 10 performances every week, he can dress however. He can wear a tutu instead of shorts for me, and high heels. I am not bothered. That's his own business. He doesn't give me comments on what I wear in my personal time around the house when I'm, you know, dressed up like Freddie Mercury. You know, I want to break free, doing the hoovering. So yeah, I don't get that as a reason to give the guy shit. And I just instantly, like an absolute kid, I just thought, ha! Prime Hector's coming back. When the hair's gone, the man is back. You know, and if the hair, it's all about feeling good about yourself, and you know, maybe that does affect the way he plays on the pitch. And if he feels good with that haircut and it helps Prime Hector come back, I'm all for it. I was hoping it was going to be more jarhead and more, you know, number naught and a high fade. Sadly, it wasn't. To me, it's a bit more like a teenage girl confused about her sexuality that just I want to be a dad, just cuts like the sort of bottom half of the hair off. It was a bit half and half. He's not gone all out, has he? I think it's if he doesn't like it, it won't take as long to grow back. But anyway, Hector's hair. It's all happening, guys. It's all happening. So yeah, that was one. Next one, Danny Ceballos, loan. I've seen people talking about it. This one doesn't excite me in the slightest. I think he's a decent player, but I want a tackling box-to-box midfielder if we're going to bring a midfielder in to replace Xhaka, and he's not it for me. He's more of a Ramsey replacement, and I don't think we need one. If he was somebody that it was a loan with option to buy, I'd be interested, but I think it is purely a loan. So I could see why he'd go to Spurs instead of us, because if they get rid of Eriksen, they could just, without, you know, use that money elsewhere, and they can just fill this guy in for a year while they think of a replacement. Or until Winks is ready, or more ready. Whereas with us, rather than bring a guy in on loan that we would only be loaning him, I would much rather see Willock get a goal there, or Emile Smith-Rowe, or Iwobi even through the middle, which I really want to see if he's staying this year, because I think it's his only chance for him to progress as a player and actually be worthwhile for us. I'd much rather see these guys get a goal than this guy being brought in just for a season loan. And I think that, again, it's just you guys thinking short term, which I'm not on anymore. Next one, Fekir, €30 million in and around there. That'd be a steal if we can get a guy like this. Another one where people are going on about his injury record. He didn't have a great season this season. I'm not sure whether that was it's giving him a cop-out. I don't know if that was a bit of a lull through being upset about not going to Liverpool and them turning the back on him. And that's the thing that concerned me, is if Liverpool turn away from him based on injuries, why would it be any different a year later? I mean, maybe he's healed, he's a bit different a year down the line. You know, they say time's a great healer, but that would the only big thing that would make me nervous about this one, is that Liverpool, you know, they had him there, they had him in a shirt, he was there, it was happening, and they backed out at the very last minute, which does make me a bit nervous. But he'd be a cracking signing. You know, no Champions League would probably be a bit of a stumbling block, but he's already come out and said that Laca's his favourite players he's ever played with, so it's not like he'd be coming and playing for Barnsley. It's Arsenal, you know, we are the Arsenal. You know, it's still European football in the Europa. He'd still get he'd probably get a rising wages coming to us, and he gets to play with Laca. You know, and our players aren't terrible. There is some terrible ones, but up top, you know, you look to any sort of attacking player, there's Mesut, you know, auba, Laca, you'd want to play with these guys surely, so I can see that, but I don't see it happening if Ozil's still here, and I think he is going to still be here, because I can't see how we get rid of him either. I don't see who to try and buy him. You know, I said it weeks ago, we'd have to let him go for free, just get them to pay his wages and just sort of release him, you know, but not releasing him where we pay, you know, compensation. It's just where we go to it, we just allow them to buy him on a free, rather than ending his contract. And yeah, I don't see that happening. So I don't see us going for Fekir if Ozil's still here. So just a bit of a non-starter for me at the minute. But yeah, another player that I'm excited at least we're being mentioned with, Even if it doesn't come to fruition, at least they're the sort of rumours that players that I would be very interested in, that I do think would be an upgrade. He's much more of a goal scoring threat than Mesut is, and could probably, maybe not as good on the ball, but he's a totally different type of player, and Mesut doesn't fit in our formation for me anymore. I saw Harry made some comments about we have to build a team around Mesut because he's not going anywhere, and I understand that line of thinking, but I think we've got to go. I thought like that for a bit and thought, right, if we can't get rid of our best player, or as you say, our flagship player on our biggest wages, how else do we go about it? Well, do you just be stubborn and, like I said, you just tell him he's playing under 23s till his contract's up, which I think he'd accept, which scares me about him. So then your other option is you play him, or you're just paying 350 grand a week for nothing. It's such a tricky one. I can understand everybody's line of thinking on that at the moment, to be honest. It's just not a good situation at all, and I think it is tying us up quite bad. Next two rumours, Vulgar, the centre mid, the Chilean centre mid. I've seen people talking about this guy. Again, I can't think of this kid's name that's on Twitter. And any rumour, he sort of hams these players up like they're the best signing we could ever make in the world. I've seen him saying it about Saliba, best up-and-coming centre-back in world football. The guy's never even watched him play. I swear to God he's never watched him play. And I know most people weren't onto Saliba last season. I'm just sick of it. And then a few YouTube comps later telling us this guy's the best thing since sliced bread. I do rate Saliba, and I think he could be brilliant. But if he doesn't want to come here or whatever, we'll just go for somebody else. I don't think he's going to be the world's best centre-back. I do think he could be pretty good, but he's not. I'm not nail my colours to the mast with any signings at the minute. I don't really care who it is. It's more about, for me, getting players out than what comes in at the minute. But he's not mobile enough for me. He's just a slight upgrade on Xhaka, in my personal opinion. I'm sure people will tell me I'm full of shit, but I've watched this guy play 5 or 6 times in a row now, and does nothing for me. Like I say, he's gives me a floppy, same as Xhaka, just absolutely nothing for me. Vasquez is the same, the two Vs. I just don't get any sense in this one. I don't know where this is coming from. And if this is the sort of deal we do, I'm like I say, the peak banter era is still here for me. And I'll be really embarrassed then that we've got rid of Wenger and Gazidis and we're still doing shit deals. That really will ring alarm bells for me then. This guy, we're talking about nearly upwards to 40 million euros, and he's no better than he will be, and he's 5 years older. It makes no sense for me, so I'm poo-pooing this one for the minute. And it comes back to this. Vulgar is a bit the same for me. People saying better than what we've got. Stop using that terminology. I want best we can get, not better than what we've got. People kept telling me this about Xhaka. Well, he's better than what else we've got. Well, if I say to you, here's a shit, well, 2 shits is better than 1 shit, but the problem is it's still a shit. It's still feces, and that's my issue with it. Is alright, Xhaka is better than what we've got, but his competition is El Neni, who we all know is not a footballer, and Guendouzi, who's a 19-year-old from French League 2, who's already putting him under pressure for his position. You know what I mean? If he isn't better than these guys, it just goes more towards what I've been saying, that he's got to go. And the same as when people defend to me that he's a big part of the way we play football. Well, have you been watching the way we play football the last 3 seasons? It's dog dirt. And your defence of Xhaka is that he's a big part of it. Well, that should be my defence of why we get rid of him, not your defence of why we keep him. It's just mind-boggling. That's the big issue for me. Those 2 positions, Mustafi, the 3 M's for me. The 3 M's and Xhaka, Mustafi, Mickey, Mesut and Xhaka. That's the biggest business I want to see happen this window, is them 4 gone. I wouldn't care if we brought nobody in and we just replaced them with youth. If we just let Bielik take Mustafi's place, if we just let Chambers take Xhaka's place, if we just let Nelson take Mickey's place, if we just let Smith Rowe or Iwobi take Ozil's place, I would settle for that as it's progress. It might not be better this year, but I'm telling you in future it would be better, or we'd have more chances of improving in future. Then keep playing these lot. That's just where I'm at with my mindset at the moment. Next one, Malcolm, talking about him. Like I said, referencing to Umtiti, I know we had a meeting with Barcelona. For a fact, we had a meeting with these guys discussing this. Loan to buy again, brilliant. That'd be a brilliant bit of business for me. But I don't think Barca will go for that this window. I'm sure we're the perfect type of club if they were looking to loan him. And obviously with Suarez, and Raul, we've obviously got good links there. Just whether they'd be up for that, we'll tell. And last but not least, we get to the unicorn that you've all been chasing, Wilf Zaha. Same thing again, with you guys want some concrete stuff. We've made a bid for him, and then you moan that we bid 40 million for him, and it's embarrassing. Do you know what I found more embarrassing than us bidding 40 million? I feel no shame in underbidding. I felt no shame in us doing that at all, because we're in a strong position. They're not. They've got a player who's coming to his prime. He wants out. He's done his bit. He's took one for the team for at least a season there. The guy's having to feed fucking Benteke. Playing with Townsend and players like that. The guy wants more. He's an Arsenal fan. He wants out, and I think the club they've given guarantees that they would have let him leave because he stayed there last year. So they, to me, aren't in a strong position. So why would we go and offer him close to what they want? And what I found was way more embarrassing, that made me laugh much harder, was their valuation of him than what we bid. Because if they honestly think he's worth 80 to 120 million, stop the earth, because I want to get off. I don't know what that is based on. And I would love, I saw, what's he called? Not Parry. You guys know it, Parish. Him coming out and talking and saying, embarrassing that bid. What I'd rather he did, he's come out and explained to us what they've based his value of 80 to 120 million on. Because I don't get it. I've seen people, Palace fans, saying, well, Wan-Bissaka's gone for 50. Totally different situation. He's a 21-year-old wing-back that could be one of the best in the world. Wilf Zaha's never going to be one of the best wingers, and he's 6 years older. Even if we bought Zaha now and we went to sell him in 2 or 3 years, we would never get our money back. Never. And he's a player that I think he might create better numbers playing with better players, but he's not going to get any better in terms of his talent. He's at his plateau now. He's as good as he's going to get. His numbers just might improve playing in a better team. And he's someone I'm sceptical about. Obviously, I don't like buying players from the Premier League because we get charged a premium. And I also don't like the sort of teams that he's played for, and the way teams set up against them to the way teams set up against us. I'm not sure it'd suit as much. Maybe more so Zaha, it'd suit him playing for us more than Fraser. It's why I was quite against bringing Fraser in, because I think he'd come unstuck for us where teams sit deep, because he doesn't really have that ability to take people on. Bit more of a crossing merchant, whereas Zaha can run at people and put them on the back foot. But he's never had 10 goals in a season for somebody who people are telling me, we're going to pay world-breaking money for a winger that's never had 10 goals in a season and struggles to get 10 assists a year. I'm just not for this one. And you guys know so many times I've told you from speaking to some of his teammates through work that he's got a piss-poor attitude. I know we got told that about Aubameyang, but that was rumoured. I'm telling you that I know this right from the horse's mouth, that he's a nightmare to deal with. He turns up at Palace for training when he wants, when he feels like it. Others will be doing drills, he just comes, puts a bib on, kicks some balls in the net and fucks off, and that's enough for it. And that's why I wouldn't want him. And also, it depends how you want to look at it, but if we're looking at seriously spending 60 or 70 million on Wilf Zaha, then there must be a lot more in the pot. Because if we don't go and spend or get in some good reinforcements in defence, what are we doing? Like I just said, the banter here hasn't left. Going for the old we'll score 3, if you score 1, we'll score 3. It's not worked for us, because you look at this year, our record of scoring goals was good. We were the 3rd highest scoring team in the league behind City and Liverpool. It's just we couldn't stop leaking goals. We all know that from watching. It was just every week we're going to go one behind, we're going to concede. That's what's got to stop. I think our attacking output, although it was heavily based around auba and laca, it'll be like that again this year. They'd still put out a similar number. Plus we'd have Nelson, Amici, Saka, Martinelli, Eddie, players more ready again this year than last year. But we'd have real solid defenders. I'd be much rather for spending all of our budget on defenders than any attacking players. I'd rather see 2 centre-backs and a box-to-box mid come in before any wingers come in. Because like I say, that's a position where, when I look at our squad, we do actually now this year have backup in that position. You might not think it's great, but when you look at it realistically, at the club we've got Auba, we've got Mkhitaryan, we've now got Nelson, Emil Smith-Rowe, Eddie can play there, Amici, Saka. We've got numbers there. When you look at defence and you go centre-backs, Kos, finished, Mustafi, dead footballer, Socrates, can't carry on forever. Then you look beyond that and you go, whether you see Bielik as a centre-back like me, or some of you I know see him more as a centre defensive mid, I've explained why I don't see him as one. But then you look and it's Holding and Mavro, and that's it. That's a real dearth of depth there, and that's for me where there's got to be some recruitment. Like I say, I don't care how much money it is. They just need to come in and they need to be the right people. Whether that's on a free or for 300 million, I don't care. It just needs to happen. And like I say, if you look at 70 million and what that could get us in today's market, and if I just said, well, what do you want, Wilf Zaha or Hermoso, Sangare and Ziyech for the same money? But if you still say Wilf Zaha, I'm very confused by you as a human and probably more of some sort of space alien. So that's it for me, guys, on the transfer bullshit merry-go-round. I think that's sort of covered everything that's going on at the minute. And like I say, just try to stop buying into what these guys are telling you and base your opinions on facts that you're getting from the club, and stop turning on the club based on one sub tip that works for Sky Sports as a subcontracting journo tells you, because they're only leading you one way, guys, and it's not towards being happy and fulfilment, I tell you that. Today we've got a game. The Arsenal are back, guys. We're back. I'm excited. I'm genuinely really excited for this game today. I'm sure a lot of you probably don't care and you don't take much interest in pre-season. I do take quite a lot of interest in the youth setup. So I will be enjoying the fact that it'll probably be mainly under 23 players. I think it might be all under 23 players today. So you guys, like I say, rather than spending your day trolling and refreshing Twitter, seeing if with any more bullshit rumours, watch what players we've actually got at the club. Because like I say, it's a bit like Martinelli. If he'd have played for a big name European club and we'd paid 50 million, very similar to Wenger's comments about Holding, I'm sorry he didn't cost us 50 million, very similar to how I feel about Martinelli, is that if it had come out that we'd have spent 50 million on him from Real Madrid, you'd all be saying, oh, this guy's amazing, fuck Wilf Zaha, we don't need him. Because he's come from Ituano or whatever, however you say that club, and for peanuts, people aren't giving it the same level of excitement, and that shocks me a little bit. But I'm personally excited, and I'm excited to see a lot of these lads today. And then you guys can make up your mind whether you think they're ready, and then it reinforces your opinion on how far off this squad is, and then you can reinforce your thoughts on what we need to bring in and who we need in. So that's the way I'd look at it. Boreham Wood, I'm not sure how tough of a challenge that'll be for our under-23s, but it's another good way to see what level they're at and how capable they are. The big shitter, it's not through the website anymore, is it? You can't live stream it, guys. It's on Premier Sports. I know a lot of you aren't going to be happy about that, but guys, we're a self-sustaining model, and all of our revenue goes back into the club. So it's you can't have it both ways. You can't have free matches and then we've got no money. So selling the rights to these to Premier Sports brings in a bit more dough. So that's the way I look at it. Excuse me. In this modern day and age, we've all got the ability to watch. I know it's not as easy watching streams, bench streams. If you're out on the go or you don't have Sky or Premier Sports or the rest of it. I'm sat in my ivory tower. I have all of it 'cause I'm sports mad. So I will be. It doesn't really make any difference to me. But I know a lot of you guys, you'll see it as a bit of a kick in the teeth. And the club distancing themselves further from being a working man's club and all that stuff. But this is the way it is, guys. This is 2019, and you got to get with it because it's just how it is. There's no two ways around it. If you don't have it, I use on the move. If I've not got my laptop with me, I use strikeout streams. Always top quality streams and minimal pop-ups. So use them, guys, if you don't have Premier Sports. So that's it on that front. The game today, guys, just what I mentioned. Jack and the lads, the Clock End lads, I think they're doing something today, getting their momentum moving again for this season. So if you are lucky enough to get down to it's too much for me to. I was contemplating staying down in London on my way back from France to catch it on the drive home, but I was just too spent. So I'll just be sitting at home, feet up, with the pooches, watching it with possibly a shandy in my hand. But if you guys are down at the ground, get involved with these young lads and help them improve the atmosphere this year. Even if the team's shit we're watching this year and it's similar to what we watched last year, let's at least enjoy ourselves. Let's make the match day experience good. So get behind them guys and get behind Jack and his mates' momentum. Lads, I wish you all the best, and I hope you keep building this momentum. And like I've said, if what games I get to next year, if I can get a ticket in the clock end with you lads, and in your block, I'm all for it, and losing my voice shouting like a madman. If you'll have an old man like me joining in. And just another shout to the gay gooners. Enjoy Pride today, guys. Nice for us to be represented by you guys. I've seen the big pile of Arsenal shirts, the new shirts for you guys yesterday. Not an area I know much about. Some people probably say I mince about quite a lot and I have some gay mannerisms, but get away. I'll probably get abused for that now being stereotypical. It was a joke, guys. It was a joke. But yeah, good luck to all you guys. I hope you have a lovely time there. The weather's turned pretty shit in Manchester, so I hope it's not wet Pride and it's sunny Pride, and you all have a lovely day and stay safe and enjoy yourselves. That's it from me, guys. Hope you've enjoyed me being back. You've not missed me too much. Have a lovely weekend. You guys know I usually do a match day analysis. Gunner Talk, during the regular season. Let me know if you want me to do one about the game today. I'm not sure many of you will have that much interest. Maybe I'll just do one anyway for you guys that might. I'll see how I feel later on. That's it, guys. Si signing out. Take it easy. Have a lovely weekend. Come on, you Gooners. Come on.